Hi, and welcome back to Mingus on Tech. I'm Ken Mingus, Executive Editor at Computer World. I'm here with Chris Hebert in the studio. He's a videographer. Video producer. Big Android fan. And I've got Dan Rosenbaum from an undisclosed location. We're going to be talking about the new Pixel 3 and whether it's the be-all, end-all of Android phones or not. So stick around. Okay, so Dan, thanks for being here. I know you've had the Pixel 3 for, I guess, almost a week now, and I wanted to find out a little bit more about, the details of what it's like to use day to day, what you like about it, what you maybe don't like about it, and then Chris may have a few questions for you too, because he's considering the Pixel 3.
Oh, I've got a lot of feels. About this Pixel 3.
All right, so Dan, a few observations or things you can share with us about the 3 and what you like about it or don't.
Well, it's really interesting. The way that the phone companies have come down is that the phones are maybe not indistinguishable, but they're kind of indistinguishable. I mean, here's the Pixel 3,
yep,
for instance.
Yep.
Here's an iPhone 10.
Yep.
You know.
Pretty much the same size, same screen.
Pretty much the same thing. I got like a half dozen of these. This is the Galaxy Note 9. Here's the Galaxy S9 Plus, and it's bigger.
Yep.
Bigger, but when you get down to the specs, if you just putting down a checklist of which processor and how big is the screen, there's not a whole lot of difference. So these companies have to figure out a way to differentiate between them, and they go back and they figure out what's special about them and their company. And where Google has figured out that they can win is in software. It's an ecosystem. It's in AI.
Okay.
And that's really the drum that they're beating this time. It's not so much the phone. The phone has all the general high specs that you expect. The Snapdragon 845 and the nice screen and the Corning Gorilla Glass 5 cover front and back, but where they're putting the stake in the ground is in AI, and specifically in AI as it applies to images and the camera.
Yeah, I know. I've seen a lot of discussion about the camera and the way that they're using, what is it, computational photography now, and that goes to the software part that you're talking about when it comes to photography. And also, I remember seeing something about, I guess they're using some AI, ML, machine learning, when it comes to like automated answering of the phone. There's like a way to get an automated response before you can see who's calling. How does that work?
Well, the claim is that when you get a junk phone call, it'll sense that it's a junk phone call or a spam call, and it will answer it, and it'll say, I've got you're calling Dan Rosenbaum's phone. Who are you and what do you want? And if it doesn't get like a real person kind of answer, it'll say, please remove you from your list. That's the promise. I was not able to test that because when they give you the phone, they give you the phone with the SIM card in it, and hopefully it's a fresh SIM card. So the spammers don't have time in the week that you have to evaluate this stuff to get you on the list and to execute that. The demo looks way cool.
Yeah, I wonder if the companies will actually listen to you when you ask about being taken off the list.
It was actually,
of course not.
Of course not. No,
but you got to do something.
It was actually really cool. So Dan, Mike Simon from PC World was here, and we did a review on the Pixel 3 XL. And so I got my hands on the Pixel 3 XL, and we tested out that feature, and it really worked.
Robot answering.
Oh yeah, that thing is awesome. I mean, just that feature alone, I would get a Pixel 3.
Yeah.
This is the Pixel 2, and they even said that feature is going to become available on the Pixel 2.
So it's backwards compatible.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Well, I mean, it's all...
Yeah, they're going to be rolling out some software. I think they said in a few weeks that I think that's software that's going to roll out. There's some camera software that's going to roll out down to the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL, which is another thing that Google is trying to put a stake in the ground about, is the backward compatibility of the phones. They promise 2 or 3 years of Android updates. So you're not going to be out there, and because the Android comes straight from Google, you're not going to be sitting out there, waiting with even a Samsung or an LG phone,
waiting for months and months and months.
So when am I going to get my update? And when do I get the cool stuff? And the answer is, well, we'll let you know.
Has the backward compatibility been an issue on the Android side of things? Again, coming from the iPhone, obviously Apple, works pretty hard to make sure that its updates, roll out for several generations of iPhones. But on the Android side, has it been where each year you'd get new features, but they would not be backward compatible largely?
Well, it's a real problem in the Android world, not just in terms of features, but in terms of security. And in terms of software development, with iOS, I think Apple has figures that 75% of people update to the latest version of iOS in a couple of months after it's released. The Android, they're still back, having to support Android 5, and they're up to 9.
Yeah.
People aren't motivated to update. The phones don't force it. The phones don't allow it to a certain point. So the fragmentation of the Android market is a real problem for Android.
In some of the discussions that we've had with J.R. Raphael, who covers Android for us at Computer World, we've talked about the whole fragmentation thing, and it's been one of the selling points to my way of thinking. If I was going to jump to Android, I would go with one of the Google Pixel models, because you are getting a pure version of Android theoretically, and you do have that sense that it's going to be first supported longer and updates will roll out quicker. And now if Google can add the sort of backward compatibility that makes your phone not obsolete every year, then I can see that being a bigger selling point.
I think it's pretty.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I carry an iPhone as my day-to-day phone. I have a Pixel 2 XL as my backup, and it's my backup, or I keep it around specifically for that, because I know that Google's going to be backing it. I can get updates for it. It's going to be secure, and it's a good phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of see the Pixel phone as the iPhone of Android now.
Yeah, agree. I agree.
I mean, pretty
completely.
much, because it's going to be the first brand of phone to get any security update, really. That's
Right.
one of the best things I love about it. So,
Dan, one of the questions, Chris and I were talking about this earlier, with the new design on the Pixel 3, the fact that the back is that sort of glass, but I think it's sort of a matte texture, which is theoretically
frosted glass.
Obviously will keep fingerprints off, but how does it feel, day-to-day use? Does it feel slippery? Does it feel grippy?
I think it's the weakest thing about the phone.
Okay.
What?
Yeah,
No, really
come
harsh.
on. That's really.
I mean, it's if I can hold it up. I don't know if you can see it with reflections.
Yeah,
and
we can see it.
monitor, but you see that this part is shiny glass, and this part is matte glass.
Right.
Now on the Pixel 2.
Yeah, we got it
Right.
right here.
Oh, here it is. On the Pixel 2, which is, they gave me the black one for that one.
Yeah.
Or I bought the black one for that one.
Yeah.
This is shiny and this is matte. But the thing is, this is an aluminum enclosure.
Right.
And that matte part is grippy.
Okay.
Okay. It feels different. You can sort of grab onto it. On the Pixel 3, it's just slick. It just looks different.
Okay.
But between the shiny part and the matte part, that's cosmetic. Now, is Google figuring that everyone just puts their case in the phone so it doesn't matter? That may be. I really, really wish that matte looking section was actually matte and actually helped you hang onto the phone.
Yeah, I mean, I give them props for making a glass back stand apart from the typical glass backs. Like, for example, the new iPhone.
Which I do keep in a cover.
Yeah, it's just clear glass. So, I mean, I like their design of their glass back, because when you look at it, it doesn't look like glass. But I mean, I see what you're saying. I mean, it's, again, since it's a glass back, it's going to be prone to breaking. I mean,
yeah, and
as any glass back.
Yeah.
So
as any glass,
Which is why I'm in a cover.
And the other thing, we may as well just get this out now. There's no headphone jack on the new Pixel 3.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Horror!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh,
what a surprise!
So what replaces it, if anything, or is the expectation everybody's going wireless for headphones?
Yeah, everyone's going wireless
Yeah.
now. I mean, you go on the subways now here in New York, and everyone is using everyone
Right.
for some value of everyone. Um, you see a lot of AirPods. You see a lot of AirPod knockoffs
Mm-hmm.
now, but people are just getting used to Bluetooth headphones now. Apple has managed to change the conversation about ports once again.
Well, it's interesting because with the new iPhone 10s and 10s Max, this is the Max. Apple dropped the little adapter that it was including until this year, and again, it's just one more nudge for people to get away from wired headphones and move over to AirPods or whatever wired,
Oh wait, they don't
wireless
include, they
headphone
don't
you want.
include the
No,
the
there used to
adapter?
be an adapter. No,
Ah.
they've gotten rid of that, and I could go for a long time about the things they should include that they
Yeah.
don't for the price. But one of the things I wanted to ask too, Dan, given the attention that's been given to the photography and the camera on the new Pixel 3 and Pixel 3 XL, have you had a chance to check that out much? And can you tell any difference with compared to earlier versions of the Pixel?
I have, and it really just impresses the hell out of me. There are two things I've been playing with. There's the portrait mode, which is what you're talking about, partly the computational thing, where when you're in portrait mode and you take a picture, you get two versions of the photo.
Mm-hmm.
You get the version of the photo with the person in focus and the background blurred, so you get the bokeh
Effect.
effect.
The effect in the back,
Uh, or you can get it with the background in perfect focus, and it makes that decision after the shot's taken. You don't choose it before; you choose it after. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
The other cool thing is they now have a motion mode, which is very much like the live photos on the Apple side. Only it's really functional.
How so? How does it differ? What's better?
Burn, burn.
It doesn't
Hey.
just look creepy. There's a
Subtle.
reason for it, and the reason is when you pick up the camera and you click the shutter, it turns out the camera's been looking for the previous second and a half or so. So if someone moves, if something happens in the frame, you can actually go back and either pick the original frame,
Yeah.
or it'll recommend
Yeah.
a better picture than the one you thought you were taking. And you can just scroll back in the UI and say, okay, yeah, I want that one. And that's your picture.
Isn't that when it comes to live photos, that to me sounds very much like when you take a live photo using iOS, when you call that photo up, you can slide back and forth between the various photos that are in that little clip basically, and select which one you want to be the keyframe or the photo that shows. Is it the same sort of thing, or is it different than that?
It's the same sort of thing. It's easier to get at
Okay.
on the Pixel, and maybe even more interesting, the Pixel recommends a photo.
Yeah, that I can see how that would be the difference, and that goes back to what you were saying earlier about Google really pushing the AI, to sort of like
Software.
the software to
Software
basically
driven and
improve your
AI.
life.
Yeah. I mean, on the Pixel 2, I mean, I use portrait mode. I mean, everything I take, and I could say firsthand that it does a really good job
It does.
processing the image and putting the background out of focus. I have an image here of my girlfriend here, and it does. We could put the image up on the screen.
Yeah, definitely, because it's very sharp. You can see the individual hairs,
It can differentiate the background from the actual subject in the foreground, and it
which
does
I think
an
is
amazing
better
job.
than the same effect on the iPhone, because the iPhone is still struggling a little bit, to get that line between what's in the foreground and what's supposed to be blurred in the background, and sometimes the line is a little too distinct.
Right. I mean, you can see right here, again, we'll put up on the screen, but if you look at the hair right here, you could just
Yep,
see right
yeah.
at the edge of the hair, it's
Yeah.
starting to have a lot of trouble differentiating the foreground and background. But, I mean, with Google, with the Pixel phones, this is a perfect example of single lens hardware paired with software. Because the post-processing is really doing all the work here. I mean, it's good lens. Dan, I think it's Sony lens, I think?
I
Probably.
believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, Sony lens. So you got a Sony lens, and really the portrait mode here, it's all post processing, and it does a really, really good job. And I think with the Pixel 3, you got that great single lens camera, you got the post processing, but now what they did with the Pixel 3 is on the front. I don't know if you tried it out.
Don't you have two cameras up
Yeah,
front now?
you got two lenses on the front now, and one's a super wide. So those group selfie pics now, you can just really go to town with that and really get in
And a really,
everyone.
really interesting detail about the super wide selfie mode is when you're taking the selfie, it looks fisheyed
Yeah.
because that's just the optics. You take the picture, you look at the picture afterwards, and the post processing is taking out the fisheye effect.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So it corrects
So
after the fact.
That's really nice.
Yep.
That and they, no big deal about it. I don't even think they talked about that feature anywhere. But you look at it, and it just does it.
It is amazing when you think about how far photography has come on these devices, say, over, just in the last 2 or 3 years. With the, obviously you've got the nice new screens, the OLED screens, which make anything look beautiful. But when you can do, the HDR, and then you've got the software that's taking burst shots and then picking the bright ones and then putting them together into one photo, it's fascinating. It's a great time to be a mobile photographer, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, getting back to where we started, the components for any top line phone are more or less off the shelf.
Yeah.
You buy the processor here, you buy the screen there, you buy the camera here, you buy the video stabilization, the physical stabilization. Someplace else, you get the battery from some other place. Unless you're Samsung, you're not making all this stuff. You're buying it off the shelf, which means it becomes a battle of engineering and it becomes a battle of software.
Right.
So did you get Dan? So do you have the Pixel 3 XL with you, or just the regular?
Just the regular Pixel.
Oh, okay. So you didn't see that notch on the Pixel X3. If there's
You mean
one
the big,
thing
you
I
mean
want,
the big buck tooth that's in the front of the XL3,
right,
The 3
right,
XL?
right,
Yeah.
right. If there's one thing I'm gonna bash Google for, and it's not the back, it's not their backs, it's that
Oh, I know what. I know what's
damn notch. That
the notch.
there's no.
I think we need a new word. That's not just a
It's
notch.
not a
That's
notch.
like, a cutout or I don't
Yeah,
know,
it's-
something. It's way
I
deep.
don't know what that's about. I don't. They didn't talk about the function. They didn't talk about making fun of Apple. They didn't say well everyone seems to like this, so we're going to do it too. I don't know. I don't know what the functionality of it is.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they put sensors back there and stuff, but no, that struck me as sort of an odd design choice. It's true.
Yeah, they really didn't bring up that whole notch. It's almost like they're afraid to bring it up because they subconsciously know it's a really big notch. What I was thinking was underneath that notch is the speaker.
You mean
because-
below it or behind it?
Behind it,
Behind it, okay.
and it doesn't really make sense because you don't need to see the speaker. So
Well,
why
the speakers, that's another change on this generation of Pixels. The speakers, which you probably can't see here, are front firing.
Mm-hmm.
Speaker there, speaker there. They sound really good, but they sound really good. Older version, if I'm not mistaken, the speakers fired from the bottom.
Right.
So if you want to have front-facing speakers, you have to have a bezel.
Yeah.
Well, I can imagine if you're a gamer, for instance, and you're holding it horizontally, or if you really want to watch movies and TV shows on your device, then having the real stereo speaker, is a nice little plus.
Yeah.
So, question. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, go ahead. I have a closing.
Okay,
question.
yeah. I
have
was
a
going to
pretty
say,
good
so Chris has the Pixel 2 here, and I was going to ask the question kind of for him: if someone has a Pixel 2 and they're thinking of upgrading to a Pixel 3, do you think the improvements in hardware and whatever is unique to the Pixel 3 make it worthwhile, especially now that some of these features are going to be, backwards compatible to last year's devices? So if I'm weighing these things, what do you think? Yeah.
If the camera is really, really, really important to you, then you should think about it.
Okay.
Ideally, if you could sell your Pixel 2 to someone else and maybe soften the financial blow,
Yep.
because these phones are, $800, $900,000. They're no longer cheap. For the run of the mill business user, I think the Pixel 2 is still a really good value.
Yeah. How about if you go back one more year? If you've got a Pixel and you're thinking of going to a Pixel 3, you think there's enough of a jump for that?
I think it's enough.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
Okay. Chris, you said you had some final thoughts, questions, concerns.
I mean, that was the question. Should people
Sorry about
upgrade to the new Pixel 3 if you have a Pixel 2? For me, so I'm not one to update phones like once a year, like Ken over here.
Oh.
You know, I think my last phone, it was like a Motorola X something, and I
time
kept
for
it
a
for like
jitterbug.
I kept it for like 4 or 5 years. To me, a phone is a phone, but that all
So you got to get away from that thinking.
That all changed.
This is a
That-
camera that makes phone calls now. A fancy
Exactly.
camera
That
makes
all
phone calls.
changed when I got this phone right here, the Pixel 2.
Yeah.
I was impressed, and because of its software, its AI, its functionality, its camera, and looking at the Pixel 3, I'm a fan. So I might upgrade to the new Pixel 3. And I mean, in terms of pricing, compared to say the top of the line iPhone, this is the iPhone
This is the XS Max.
XS Max.
Yeah.
And if,
56 gigs.
and if you don't mind, how much?
$12.49.
Yeah,
think,
and so I'm
something like that. Yeah.
The regular
Installment
Pixel,
plan. Let's make that clear. Installment plan.
the regular Pixel 3, I think, what is it, like 800, 900, Dan?
$799 and
$799.
Yeah. Now, I want to throw one more thing into the mix. We're talking about Apple versus
right.
Google, but of course, it's a lot more complicated than that. So you have, let's say, a small company called Samsung.
Yeah.
Now, Samsung is a really high quality phone. It's got a terrific camera. It's got features, up the wazoo. And the question is whether you would go with a Pixel or whether you would go with a Galaxy or a Note. And that becomes a much harder question. I think the Samsung may have more features and certainly more features accessible to you. The Pixel is simpler.
So much simpler.
Simpler. It's the iPhone of Android, as I think someone mentioned.
Chris
before.
said that. Yeah, exactly.
It's designed to be easy to use. The Galaxy and the Note are designed to have everything you could possibly need. And whether you need everything you could possibly need, or whether you want something that is a great phone and is kind of straightforward, then that's your choice.
Of course, then you get back to the original question. Again, if you're getting a Pixel, you're getting that pure play Android, version of Android Pie, and you don't have to wait for lots of updates and security fixes to roll out depending on who your carrier is.
I want to push back on that pure version of Android thing.
Okay.
Because the version of Android that you're getting on the Pixel is, I wouldn't call it pure.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of settings that Google has taken out. They want to make it simple. The interface is not the same as other Android phones. There's no, the back home and list. I'm blocking on what the actual name of the feature is. That brings up all the open apps. That's different on the Pixel. The interface is different. So what is Android? What is pure Android? What isn't pure Android? And Samsung has the power in the market to make sure that it gets Android updates, if not immediately, very soon.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. Forgive me, these are perfectly good phones, but they don't have the market position an LG or a OnePlus.
Right.
But they're pretty fast, and to call the Pixel Android the pure Android is I think not really accurate anymore.
Okay.
It's its own Google skin on Android that is different
Yeah.
and acts different and looks different and feels different.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really good insight because I did not know that, obviously, and so that's an important thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing about it is it's Google. I mean, Google's Google.
Yeah.
Google, it's the internet, and the fact that they're using their own AI is awesome. And the other thing about Google is Google's, it works. I mean, you see Google on PCs, Apples, Android, and I got to point something out. This right here is a LG smartwatch. I think it came out when smartwatches just started
When
coming
dinosaurs
out. This thing is
ruled the earth.
This is an antique.
Yeah.
All right, this is an antique. You can see. You look at the charging. Dan, I don't know if you could see it. It's like a square.
Uh-huh.
This thing's ancient, and it's probably
Oh,
like.
you want to talk about ancient smartwatches? I got a drawer for you.
And like it's to the point where the gold or whatever bronze contacts on the back are actually wearing out.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is, like, this is Google.
Mm-hmm.
This is Google on here, and this is ancient, and this is a brand new phone. This connects instantly, and it's integrated into the watch.
Isn't it amazing
So-
what you can do when you have an integrated ecosystem between software and hardware?
But like, could I connect this? Could I sync this watch to an Apple?
we should try that sometime.
I mean, sure, we could try, but
Yeah.
my feeling is it's probably not going to work. But it's just you can do more with it,
Right. It makes for a very holistic
And
experience.
I'm probably not going to get rid of this, even though I probably should. It's kind of janky, but I'm going to hang on to this smartwatch because it works perfectly fine with Google's ecosystem here.
Mhm.
So
Well, if you want a more up to date smartwatch, we should have a conversation offline. You can do a lot better.
oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I know it. I
All
know
right,
it.
Nick, that'll be the next conversation. Okay, any final thoughts on the Pixel 3 before I let you go, Dan? I think we've covered a lot of ground. Anything we left out?
I don't think so. It's a top of the line phone. Whether it's for you, whether it is worth upgrading, as with all these things, it depends what you're looking for. It's got an awesome camera. It's really fast. Its hooks into the Google ecosystem are, of course, better than anything else. It's a bit cheaper than the other top of the line phones, and that counts for something.
Sure.
But it's certainly worth considering.
Right. Okay, great. All right. Chris, any final thoughts before I let you go?
I'd say if you have, was it $800? $800?
$799.
Yeah.
$799. If you have an extra $799 hanging around, you have the Pixel 2 or an iPhone, I'd get it. I'd get the Pixel 3. I would.
If you get the Pixel 3, we'll have you back on.
All right, cool. The other thing too is tax season's coming up. There you go. Just use your tax return. Just get one.
Or the holiday season's coming up.
Holiday season too. Don't get an Apple. Get
well,
Google.
I wouldn't go that far.
Don't get
but
this.
okay.
Throw this away.
And on that note,
Stick with the Pixel.
And I will pull him off the stage. Dan, thanks a lot for all the information and insights. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
Chris, thanks for the color commentary.
No problem.
For now, that's a wrap.